Oh, who was the coach that was just uh sanctioned? Coach punished. There was a coach who was just punished for Jan 6 comment and fined $100,000. Oh yeah, Commanders fine DC Jack Del Rio. Okay, so I don't know what this is. I didn't know what the NFL was, but listen to this. Talk about soft censorship and suppression of freedom of speech. They're not suppressing freedom of speech. You can still say what you want, but there's sanctions. Listen to this. Commanders, I don't know what team that is, fine DC Jack Del Rio $100,000 for comments on Capitol riots. Eric Hunley just sent me this link this morning. I hadn't heard about it. Wait until you hear this. The Washington Commanders. Oh, because they I didn't know that. I guess that's the formerly known as, can't repeat the name. The Washington Commanders fined defensive coordinator, so not a coach, defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio $100,000 after his comments this week comparing the 2020 protests in the wake of the death of George Floyd to the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Let's hear what he had to say. This is interesting. The team announced Friday that Commanders coach Ron Rivera levied the fine on Del Rio, which will be donated to the United States Capitol Police Memorial Fund. Quote, this morning I met with Coach Del Rio to express how disappointed I am in his comments on Wednesday, Rivera said in a statement. His comments do not reflect the organization's views and are extremely hurtful to our great community here in the DMV. What's the DMV? As we saw last night in the hearings, what happened on the Capitol on January 6, 2021 was an act of DT, people. Wow. I noticed that the committee was even reluctant to use that terminology too much. They said domestic enemies is what they said, because even this might be too much for the committee members to repeat over and over again. A group of citizens attempted to overturn the results of a free and fair election, and as a result, lives were lost and the Capitol building was damaged. Coach Del Rio apologized for his comments on Wednesday, and he understands the distinction between the events of that dark day and peaceful protests, which are a hallmark of our democracy. Is this individual suggesting that when he compared it to the 2020 Kenosha riots, the Summer of Love, Chaz, Chop, whatever, is he suggesting that those were peaceful protests or slightly fiery, but mostly peaceful protests? He does have the right to voice his opinion as a citizen of the United States, and it most certainly is his constitutional right to do so. However, words have consequences. And his words hurt a lot of people in our community. I want to make it clear that our organization will not tolerate any equivalency between those who demanded justice in the wake of George Floyd's murder and the actions of those on January 6 who sought to topple the government. You have freedom of speech. And even when it's not unlawful exercise of freedom of speech, even when it is lawful exercise of freedom of speech, we're going to fine you $100,000. There's consequences. You imagine there's some analogies that you can compare with that. You have the right to say something, but I'll financially slap you back. After reflecting on the situation and the circumstances, I have decided to, my goodness, talk about being a judge, jury, and executioner all in one. I have decided to fine Coach Del Rio $100,000, which the team will donate to the United States Capitol Police Memorial Fund. I feel strongly that after our conversation this morning, he will have a greater understanding for the impact of his language and the values that our teams stand for. This is literally, not literally, it's quite literally not literally, it's metaphorically the scene from 1984 when they compel Winston to say, I love Big Brother. They sit there, they pull his teeth out, they abuse him, they destroy him, they make him look at his destroyed, shattered image of a human in the mirror so that he doesn't even recognize who he is. And he gets out and says, 2 + 2 = 5, and I love Big Brother. After talking with him, fining him $100,000, telling him that if he ever does anything like this again, his life will be ruined. He understands the impact of his words. He won't do it again. I want to hear what he said here. The $100,000 punishment, it's amazing, comes after the 59-year-old posted a tweet comparing the protests and insurrection. On Wednesday, Del Rio defended his opinion during a press conference, downplaying the insurrection, calling it a dust-up. All right. Might be wrong on it being a dust-up. Might be a little bit more than a dust-up. might be a little bit more than a dust up. Are we going to, is this, it's freedom of speech now, but if you say something which is even factually incorrect or I disagree with, $100,000 fine, enjoy your freedom of speech. It's not so free anymore, though. People's livelihoods are being destroyed. Businesses are being burnt down. No problem, Del Rio said at the time. And then we have a dust up at the Capitol, nothing burned down, and we're going to make a major deal. We're going to make that a major deal. I just think it's kind of two standards. After his dust up comments went viral, Del Rio later released an apology saying his terminology was irresponsible and negligent. I love Big Brother. 2 + 2 = 5. And they got him to say it, and as if there's going to be any forgiveness. Del Rio's comments drew scorn from Washington players, other NFLers, and scores of media members. Oh, okay. The NAACP called for Del Rio to resign or be fired. Can you imagine? You have freedom of speech, by the way. Say something we don't like. No, this is not a call for violence. This was not a racial slur. This was not any ethnic denigration. This was not, heck, this wasn't even election fornication commentary. A dust-up saying one summer of violence was worse than this, and they didn't make a big deal of that, but they're making a mountain out of this molehill. That hurts people. That is $100,000 fine worthy. Okay, and I think we don't care about this. Several Commanders players were asked how they felt about Del Rio's comments. Defensive captain Jonathan Allen. Oh yeah, ask them how they feel. You just saw the public execution of the guy who said it. Ask other people how they feel about it. See what they say. Oh, I totally stand by it. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I don't care about his opinion. As long as he shows up every day and he works hard, that's what I want from my defensive coordinator. Oh, good answer. Yep. No, ask other people what they think of his opinion after they just saw the public execution, proverbial public execution of him, and see if they agree with it or if they're going to be prone to vocally express their approval of the message, even if they did approve of it. Metaphorically, the scene from 1984 when they compel Winston to say, I love Big Brother.